I grew up from, as long as I can remember, early childhood going to church down in Plymouth, Massachusetts, where, church was the center of our social life as a family. When we ultimately made the decision to move up to New Hampshire, bounced around a couple of different places, tried a couple of different churches, but just never really found that same sort of home like we felt like we had back in Massachusetts. Being a teenager and kind of drifting away from God and from church, and went off to school. Baseball was a pretty big part of my life, as I've told you, playing that in college, and ultimately getting hurt and not being able to play anymore, and kind of having to reevaluate the direction of my life and what I was going to do. And in that kind of absence, I ended up filling it with a lot of alcohol. Got heavy into the drinking, started in college with just the party atmosphere, continued when I came home after school, and just kind of never really moved out of that phase. I think if you had asked me if I was a Christian, if I believed in God, I probably still would have said yes. But as I'm finding out, your faith in God is a lot more than just saying you believe. It's about having that relationship with God, with Jesus, and I didn't have one. Ended up getting sober about 3.5 years ago. Went to an outpatient rehab center, started going to AA meetings. A big part of that recovery process is finding a level of spirituality. And I just kind of found myself trying out different things. I guess wandering is probably a good word to use. Right around the time I hit my 1-year sobriety date, which is a pretty big milestone for me. Our next door neighbors, the Parks family, who we'd become close with, invited us to come to the well and check it out. I was getting a lot of the same feeling coming to the well every day that I was getting out of a lot of the AA meetings that I was going to, the group therapy that I was a part of. I don't have a better way to describe it other than I just had this thirst, this hunger, and I wasn't really sure why I was feeling that way, but I knew that I just wanted to know more. I've realized that there are steps that I need to take, and there's a level of proactivity that I need to have with my relationship with Him if I really want that to flourish. I knew that all I had to do was go to Him. And He would accept me, and you have to choose Him. He's already chosen you. And that really struck me because I wasn't sure if I had ever really made that known. So I think that day in service was actually the day where I prayed. And I said, God, if I haven't told you this before, I'm telling you now. And I think with a lot of things, and I think a lot of people probably do this too, you're just waiting for that light bulb moment where it's aha. It wasn't any of those things, but it was the realization that I don't have to wait for that. In fact, I probably shouldn't. And I could continue to come up with excuses as of why I wasn't ready or why I wasn't the time. Or I could just take the plunge. So that's what I'm doing. Taking this next step of getting baptized is a big part of that for me. It's that signal to Him and to the world that I'm committed and I want this relationship with you, and I'm not just going to sit back and wait anymore.